Long Island Backstory with Chief Correspondent Gary Jacob.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm Gary Jacobs. Welcome to Long Island Backstory, where we're filming at the Cablevision Studios in Hauppauge, Long Island. My guest today is Rebecca Weissbard, founder of the Ride For Becca Foundation. Mr. Weissbard is a perfect example of post-traumatic growth, and his story that I'm honored to be sharing with everybody today, because this is a truly inspirational story, something that somebody we can all learn from and use as an example. I don't want to give too much away in my introduction to what we're going to talk about, but just suffice to say, this is a really inspirational show, and I'm honored that he's here, because it's a difficult story for Eric to tell everybody, but the fact that he's out there sharing his story and what he's done, he's really a role model, and as I said, I'm honored that he agreed to come on the show today and tell the story. So, Eric, thank you for coming on Long Island Backstory.
Thank you for having me.
So first, tell us about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up. Tell me a little bit about Rebecca Weissbard.
I'm 57 years old. I've lived on Long Island my whole life. I originally was born in Babylon, North Babylon. From there, I moved to Stony Brook. Lived in Stony Brook until year 2000.
Okay.
Had a wife, had a daughter, and had a nice life. And
tell us about your business, because I think many people are going to be watching you, and they're going to say, "I know this guy. He looks familiar."
Well,
tell about Sundance Leather.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. I had a regular life. I had a business in the Sunrise Mall called Sundance Leather, and we were there for 24 years. And my wife was not happy being a homemaker. She wanted something more. She wanted to get out of the house after my daughter was born. So I asked her, what do you want to do? What's going to make you happy? And she goes, I always liked to ride horses. When she was young, she took riding lessons, went to camp. So I go, well, go take some riding lessons. Get back to what you want to do. And from there, it just became a passion of hers. And we had a young daughter.
Were you a horse person, Eric?
No.
So just the leather was a sip?
I'd go ride. I enjoyed it.
You're a hack rider?
Exactly. We'd go trail riding. We've been, trail riding all along Long Island. We took a couple of vacations. We went out west. But it was a hobby to me. It became a passion for her. And as time went on, it became a passion for my daughter. It was something that the two of them enjoyed together. They loved it. Rebecca had a natural ability. She took to it before she could walk. She was sitting on horses. She had natural balance, and it just became something that they both enjoyed and excelled at.
Right. And so how old was she when she started taking lessons?
She actually started riding when she was 2 years old.
Wow. She
started riding at 2. My wife worked, like I said, at a farm in Stony Brook called Smoke Run Farm, and
I hope she got free lessons.
Right, she got free lessons. She helped run the summer camp program, and in order to do that, she goes, my daughter has to be able to be with me, and I can't do these things, without her. And it just became something both of them did, both of them enjoyed, to the point where they wanted to do more. And Smoke Run Farm closed. It became a county park, and from that point, we went looking to do something on our own. I first rented a small piece of land for her in Medford.
Without a barn?
It was an old, rundown barn, and she was very nervous to start on her own. She was like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know how to.
No customers, right?
Nothing,
no borders.
Have nothing. So I had taken out a $10,000 loan, and I said, look, it's $10,000. Give it a try. You have nothing to lose. And she goes, that's a lot of money. I go, look, it's like a car payment. It's $300 a month. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, so be it. But at least you tried, and you tried to do something on your own. The first couple of weeks, she was very lonely and nervous, and before you know it, people showed up, and more people showed up, until we outgrew that place, and it was time to buy something of our own instead of just renting. After a lot of looking, because Long Island is a hard place. is to start a business that requires a lot of land.
Right.
It takes a lot of money.
You got to be in the right location.
Everything on Long Island is zoning issues, different types of use issues. What are you near? How is it going to work? And after looking for about a year or so, we found a farm in Manorville that had been a farm for one shape or another for well over 100 years. It was currently being used as a, they had horses and cows and different things. And
what year was this?
that was in 2004.
Okay.
And we just said, well, let's try it. We sold our house in Stony Brook and bought a horse farm, and mainly for to pursue the business, and for Rebecca's riding career, to get her to that next level, and have access to horses, access to bigger trainers, and we have been there ever since. The business is successful, and
tell me about Becca. When did she start to take it to the next level? So she was young.
Becca was riding from the time she was 2 years old, and she just had a natural ability. The first trainer, the owner of the Smoke Run Farm, George Luke Meyer, looked at her, as she was a toddler, and said, she has natural ability, natural talent.
And she loved it.
She loved it. She had no fear. She thought it was just the greatest thing, and it just became natural for her. People would see her on a horse. She was riding full-size horses as a very young child, and people would see it and they couldn't believe that a small child would be able to handle a 1,200-pound animal. But we bought a young pony for $1,700 named Lily, and through a lot of trial and error and a lot of hard work, they became very competitive. With Becca as the rider, my wife Lynn as her trainer, and they competed everywhere with Lily. They competed at the Hampton Classic. They competed at a lot of horse shows. And then from there, as she got older, the sad thing with ponies is they don't grow, but the child grows.
Right.
And then it's time to move on. Moved up to a little larger pony, was successful with that. Went through a couple of different trainers trying to find the right mix. Then finally got her a legit competition horse named Renaissance. And again, she did very well. She would ride all kinds of other horses. We'd always put her on whatever was the most difficult horse in the barn. We referred to her as the crash test dummy, because whatever there was, she could stay on it. The more difficult it was, the more fun she thought it would be. And she liked the competition. She enjoyed competing. She enjoyed getting dressed up for a horse show. She enjoyed the whole pageantry of it.
Now, did you think that this was going to be a career for her, that she was going to do professional at this point?
It's something from the time she was able to walk and talk, it's what she wanted to do.
Right.
She wanted to be a professional rider. And there were times when she was very young. I'm like, okay, all kids want to do things. I'm lucky. I'm one of the few people who wanted to be a cowboy and a fireman, and I managed to become both of them.
Right.
But that doesn't happen too often. But as time went on, and she would win, and she had the passion for it, and being that we had a farm, that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a rider. She wanted to compete around the world. Every time she set her goal on something, between her, myself, my wife, we would try to make it happen.
Right.
Whether we had to buy another horse, whether we had to, work 2 or 3 jobs to get.
Like you said, it's not easy. You guys put a lot out there. It's big money.
We are regular working people, and in the riding world, that is not common for people to be able to excel.
It's a rich man's sport.
It is a sport who's referred to as the sport of kings.
Right.
The sport of kings, and on Long Island,
Even
you
worse.
have many people from Nassau County, from Manhattan, from the Hamptons, people with, large businesses, doctors, hedge fund people,
lawyers,
people who could easily write $1 million checks and buy something that's already made, already finished, and go on and compete. We didn't have that kind of money, but we had a rider who was able to be put on anything and make it look the part.
Right. Which that's the difficult.
Exactly.
That's a difficult
Anybody
part.
could purchase something.
Yeah, you could. So tell us about the Maccabiah Games. Tell us what they are and how Becca got involved in that.
The Maccabiah Games are what are referred to as the Jewish Olympics. They occur every 4 years in Israel. We had no knowledge that my father had even been donating to them, and my wife had heard about it. I don't really know how, through the grapevine, and thought it might have been something that Becca could do, not necessarily be on the team, but maybe go with the team as a practice rider, maybe as a groom, maybe to help with the other riders. One of her trainers, a trainer who she'd actually spent time living with, a fellow named Neil Shapiro, and his wife, Lecha. Neil was named the trainer for the team.
Coincidentally.
It's
like crazy how these things work out, right?
And like I said, we had sent her. She basically lived with Neil Shapiro on and off for 2 years because he was an Olympic rider. He was actually in the Munich Olympics when the Palestinians attacked, and he was obviously a Jewish athlete, and they tried to evacuate him from the competition, and he refused. He goes, I didn't work as hard as I did to get here to leave. And he competed, and he medaled, and pretty inspirational story. So being we knew Neil was the trainer, my wife, tried to, see what she could do to get Becca along with the team. And if there was any outside chance she could even be on the team. It goes by the show record, where they've competed, how much they've competed. And basically he kind of came back and said, we're looking for people who already have that sort of experience, people who've been to maybe the Olympics, people who have competed at the Grand Prix level, and Becca really wasn't there yet.
Because she was young.
She was young. At the time she was only 18. And my wife was like, that's fine. If there's something on the team you can think of that she could do, we'll keep that, maybe they can keep that in mind. Being it was the first year of the competition, and Israel is, thousands of miles away, they were not permitting people to use their own horses from the United States. You had to use an Israeli horse.
Which is harder.
Of course,
because you're not used
your
to that.
horse, it's not something you've been training on, and you're in a foreign country, and so a lot of the A-list people from the United States really weren't interested. People want to go, like I said, people are used to riding their expensive animal. They're used to doing it on something they know about. So there became an opening for Becca. Actually, Neil called up my wife Lynn and said, I think we could use Becca. I think there's a spot for her. My wife was like, really, she was kind of shocked, and she goes, yeah, because she was able to ride anything. She was able to get on anything. She was able to figure things out. She went to Israel, and she arrived several weeks prior to the event, and she was given a horse to use and train with. And that horse was okay. It had issues, but she was working it out. The day before the competition, that horse became lame. The horse was not able to do the competition. They brought a horse in from halfway across the country that was just a backup horse that apparently had a history of problems, but it was going to be, it was suitable. It was
just something to get through it.
And she had one day to practice with it, and as it turned out, they bonded, it clicked, and she competed and did a fantastic job.
Right. And how did she do? So the first
she wound up, she competed against people from around the world. Like I said, it's just like an Olympic competition. There was people from all the countries that had participated in the London Olympics was the year before, The person who won the bronze medal from Mexico, he was there competing.
So just staying in this is
Right, just staying in this.
Staying in the game.
My father was talking to a coach from Bolivia, and he was saying what a great team Bolivia had, and this team and that team, and all these different teams. And one by one, Becca picked them off. And the first day, she rode, and she rode completely clean, and she came in 4th place. And I was thrilled because there was hundreds of people, and I was talking to her. I mean, wow, you did fantastic. She goes, I could do better. I go, what? She goes, I held back today because today wasn't the medal round. She goes, I can do better. This horse will do better. Then the next day was team competition, and even though several members of the team who had much more experience didn't perform as well as they could have, she was again clear on everything all day and carried the team to a team silver medal.
I understand you guys are like a legend there, your family, right? Everybody knew who you guys...
It became, after that, people would just start talking about the 19-year-old American.
And her personality, I think.
Everywhere I went, people would recognize me just as Becca's father. And I'd walk into an ice cream place or I'd walk into a pizza place and go, oh, there's Becca's daddy. There's Becca's daddy. And every place I went, I'm like, how does everybody know Becca?
Let's show the video to the audience so they can see Becca. Let's show the video. And this is Becca, I guess, in Israel.
This is the interview after she won the gold medal.
Right, let's go show that.
This is the first year they had equestrian in it, and I had to do whatever I could to get ready to do it. I've been dreaming about it since I was little, but they never had equestrian, so now that they did, I had to go after it. It was an outer body experience. I couldn't, it was amazing. I couldn't hold it in. I just cried like a baby. It was amazing. It's gonna have a place right next to the team one we got yesterday, which I could never have done without my team. And I got a couple ribbons, and it's gonna have a place right above my mantle. I was really just coming for the games, and then when I started seeing all this historical stuff, it became so much more. It became about the team, it became about everything, and just meeting all these amazing people.
So as everybody can see, you can see clearly on her face, this is something that she loves. Besides being excited,
she was
super
excited.
She was pumped.
She was just amazing. She couldn't believe that, number one, she was there. Number one, she made the team, and she beat all these people. Right. And it was just so amazing.
This is with a hand tied behind her back.
Because she had a horse.
Not her horse.
She had a horse.
New horse.
Right, not her horse. A horse she had one day to practice on, and it was just one of those magical things where everything just clicked, but she had that ability. Like I said, she could get on anything and feel it and sense it, and almost communicate with the animal to get the best out of them.
So now, when she comes back, was her goal to go to the Olympics?
Obviously, she always wanted to do more and do more, and she was actually, the Israeli team really wanted her. They wanted her to compete. That was a guarantee. They wanted her to be on their team, to almost be one of the anchors for Israel. She was looking into citizenship, and she was looking into see how that would work.
Because when she was there, she got immersed in the culture and loved being there too.
Yeah, she loved also looking at all the Israeli soldiers. She thought they were all, dark, tall, good-looking guys. She really liked that.
So now she gets back, and she's continuing to train and doing horse shows, and then there's a lot more that went on in the whole middle, going to other countries, but
she went to
Holland. She was all over
the world.
She ended up being sought out. So now she's back, and then tell us about, I'm not sure what year it was when she was upstate New York. She went with your wife. Tell us about how that whole
every year there's a horse show called Hits. It's called Horse Shows in the Sun, and in the winter it's in Florida, and in the summer it's in upstate New York, Saugerties. And again, riders come from all around the country, around the world to compete. They have large prizes. There's a Grand Prix with $1 million prize, and it's a big deal. It's as big or bigger than the Hampton Classic, and it runs through the whole summer. It starts in May and finishes up after Labor Day. And typically they would go up for 2-3 weeks at a time, come home, go back up, come home. And she'd go up there, they'd bring several horses, and we have an RV. They would stay up there, they would train up there, and it was just something that they did every year, part of the circuit. She would go down to Florida, she competed in Ocala, but in the summers it was the big deal to go up to Hits and Saugerties. And they had gone up again for the last couple of weeks in August. They went up August 28th with several horses and supplies for 2 weeks. And the second day she was there, she was competing with 2 horses. One that had been one of ours that she had trained, her and my wife, and we had just sold it to a woman, and she wanted Becca to show it so she could see what it would do. And that horse was currently in first place. And she was showing another horse that belonged to a friend of hers, a girl who rides at our barn, that Becca had picked out for her when she was over in Europe and had shipped over here. The horse was originally from the Czech Republic, and Becca thought it was a great horse, had it shipped over. And they were competing. It wasn't a big class, it wasn't something overly difficult. It was just a typical routine horse show. And the horse got tangled up in a jump and tripped and fell, and the horse landed directly on her, killing her instantly. And I had just hour before, I had talked to my wife. I had said, "Oh, how's everything going?" And she said, "Everything's great. Becca's in first place. She's doing great. She's going to be showing the second horse in about another hour." So I'm like, "Oh, good." So when the phone rang at 2 o'clock, I thought it was just an update on what was going on. And like I said previously, I have the opportunity to ride horses, have a horse farm, be a cowboy. And I've also been a fireman since 1982. And at the time, I was working part-time at the Stony Brook Fire Department as one of their paid EMTs. So, like I said, I've seen everything. There's not a thing I haven't seen in 30 years of being a fireman and an EMT. That day was typical, a couple of little car accidents, nothing major. So I was just getting done. It was 2 o'clock. The phone rang, and I said, "Hey, Lynn, what's up?" And she goes, "There's been an accident." So as being a fireman, and I hear accident, I go, "Okay, what happened to the truck?" Thinking whatever it is, it's fixable, no big deal. And she goes, "It's not the truck, it's Becca." I go, "Well, what happened?" She goes, "Becca's gone, Becca's dead." And I go, "What?" She goes, "Becca's gone, Becca's dead. Get here as quick as you can." Keep in mind, this is over 200 miles through, 4 hours or so away, and I'm just now in a complete state of shock. I'm at the firehouse, and as one of the senior guys, I had the first responder car, and we called for a chief. I told the chief what was going on, and with that, went up to Saugerties. They had brought her to a hospital. Went and saw her. Saw my wife. We did what we had to do. We, on the way heading home, like I said, we had her car, we had a truck, we had a camper, we had an RV, we had trailers up there. So I'm trying to get home. Our truck, our trailer, Rebecca's car, left the camper up there. As soon as I get on the New York State Thruway, the truck starts having issues. The truck won't go above 40 miles an hour. I'm like, what else? Now what else is going to go wrong? Made it home. When I got home, the entire Manaville Fire Department, there had to be 80 people. And I only made one phone call. I called the chief and told him what was going on just so he would be aware. We're just standing there waiting for us, and it was humbling to see that many people that came and standing in front of our farm at midnight, and they helped us unload everything. And a couple days later, we had a candlelit vigil. There had to be 2,000 people show up. I never knew that she knew so many people, that she had touched so many people. Her funeral was so large that they closed the Long Island Expressway. The Long Island Expressway was completely closed, pretty much from Smithtown to Melville, and the procession had to be 2 miles long. I've been to many fire department funerals. I was to many funerals after 9/11. I've never seen, a funeral. She just touched that many people, and everybody thinks their kid is the greatest, but to actually see that many people cared, that many people came out, I just thought it was pretty impressive.
So, unfortunately, there's a lot more that I want to talk about, and hopefully maybe on Facebook you can go on to Facebook Live, or you'll comment on the YouTube and tell people a little bit more of the inside. But I want to talk about how you started the foundation, but unfortunately we're out of time. But tell everybody about the foundation that you started in your daughter's memory called the Ride for Becca Foundation.
We started a foundation called Ride for Becca. The purpose of Ride for Becca is to help other young equestrian athletes who have talent, but not necessarily the money to get up to that next level. And we've been successful in helping people. They may need extra training, they may need extra lessons, their horse may need a certain medication, or they may need help with a saddle. And we do fundraisers, we get donations. This time of year, the end of the year, people looking to make a donation, send it to Ride for Becca.
RideForBecca.com. We have the number there on the bottom of the screen, and we'll post it.
Right, or checks can be sent to Ride for Becca, 37 North Street, Manaville, New York. We are a 501c3, tax exempt, and we appreciate every donation we get, and it helps us to help others.
Eric, thank you so much for coming in. I'm sorry for your loss, but
thank you for having me.
This is really, it's inspirational. We didn't get into the whole backstory, but it'd be very easy to just fall into depression, and but as you would said it, when we previously met, life has to go on, and you only had two choices, right?
It's it.
You said that's it.
There's nothing else you could do.
But you turned it into something positive.
Every day, I'm not going to say it's easy, but like Gary said, there are two choices. You can give up or you can go on and try your best. And that's it. You can't put your head in the sand. You can't wallow in self-pity. You got to just try, get up, get dressed, put on the game face, try not to have people feel sorry for you, and just do the best you can and help others.
Right. Thanks for joining us. And if you want more, you just go to YouTube and put in Becca Weissbard, Maccabiah Games, horse, anything. Hundreds of videos come up, and you can get to know her more. I'm Gary Jacobs, and thank you for joining us in Long Island Backstory.
Gary Jacobs and Long Island Backstory, winner of the Huntington Lodge No. 124's 2018 Community Service Award in recognition of the efforts to offer an alternative access to news stories of interest to all Long Islanders. Long Island Backstory is made possible in part by Americans for Legal Reform, the oldest, most successful legal group in the world. P.O. Box 2679, Huntington Station, New York 11746. Telephone 631-421-6390. Website Americans4legalreform.com.